to stand for an invocation by Commissioner Linda Thompson.
God of new beginnings, we are so grateful to be here at the start of a new year, gathered in community. For the people who stand at a crossroad, unsure of what decision to make, give them clarity. For those who feel confined by paths that are too straight and narrow, guide them to wide open spaces. For those who walk alone, surround them with community. For those who want to walk home but have found that their home is no longer there, are deemed unsafe because of the hurricane, grant them courage to begin again. May we know their struggles, and may we respond with compassion. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. And Carly, if you can call the roll, please.
Heidinger?
Here.
Thomas?
Here.
Thompson?
Oh, here.
Reed?
Yes, here.
Penny?
Here. All right, well, good morning, everybody. Happy New Year. Glad to see smiling faces in the audience today. This morning, we're going to conduct an agenda meeting, immediately followed by an administrative workshop. And it looks like we've only got one item on the agenda for next week, and that is our consent agenda, which we'll go over we'll approve the minutes for the month of December, which, of course, are always available at the clerk's office for anyone to view. Anyone have any questions over the singular item? Okay. I don't know if we'll be adding any more after the workshop today, but I don't think so. Okay, so then that's it. We're going to adjourn, and we will vote on those minutes next week. Hopefully we'll...
Close to me, making love to me. I believe in miracles. Where you from? You sexy thing, you. I believe in miracles. Since you came along, you sexy thing. Where did you come from, angel? How did you know I'll be the one? Did you know you're everything I prayed for? Did you know every night and day for? Every day, needing love and satisfaction. Now you're lying next to me, giving it to me. I believe in miracles. Where you from? You sexy thing, you. I believe in miracles. Since you came along, you sexy thing. Ah, kiss me, you sexy thing.
All right, I'm going to call the administrative workshop to order. And Carly, if you can call the roll.
Heidinger?
Here.
Thomas? Thompson?
Here.
Reed?
Here.
Penny?
Here. All right, so I've got 3 discussion items today. The first one is the Life Safety Inspection Compliance Service, which I'm guessing is the chief, after reading the documents.
Good morning.
Morning.
What I want to talk to you guys about is an opportunity that I feel would benefit us in our life safety inspections, us being the fire department and, of course, the city residents and business owners as a whole. This is a service that actually was introduced a couple years ago, and I think I've talked to you guys before, right, kind of the mindset of being on the leading edge, not the bleeding edge, wanted to see it in action for a little bit. Currently, there are 7 departments in Pinellas County, 7 out of 18 that are using this service. So we would be the 8th if we so choose to go that way. How it works is this, little background. So we're currently on a 3-year inspection cycle in the fire department. So South Pasadena Fire Department does not have a separate inspection division. Some larger departments would separate that division out. So we tend to do it internal, with myself acting as the fire marshal, and with the company officers. What was that, 2 contracts ago, we made it a job requirement to become state certified as a life safety inspector. So they actually conduct our recurring inspections as company officers. So what they would do is commercial properties, right? Businesses, multifamily residential, anything. Yes, exactly. Anything above a duplex basically would be multifamily. So that's, like I said, per state statute, we are allowed to go as far as a 3-year cycle, and that's where we are. We're currently on a 3-year cycle. And that is a person going out and actually conducting an inspection of the building. With that inspection, it does include checking that the life safety systems are in fact, business owners have to have them inspected and certified by an outside agency. Like, for example, an alarm system has to be inspected by a licensed state alarm contractor. Same with a sprinkler system, right? Not just anybody can certify those systems. So we do check that their stickers and tags are up to date when we're on that 3-year cycle. What this would do is this is an electronic format that checks those certifications and inspections remotely. So they do it by basically creating a database, see that an inspection has been done based on the type of life safety inspection, when the next one would be due, and then requiring that the service contractor submit documentation that was complete. So there's 3 persons involved. It would be, let's say there's ABC Donut Shop, and then me as the fire marshal, and then now this company. They have a sprinkler system, so there's a contractor that would check that sprinkler system on an annual basis. They would then be required to submit documentation when it was due to this compliance engine, they call it. In other words, it keeps track of the services.
And that would be annually instead of 3 years?
Depending, so there's some systems that actually require quarterly, twice a year, once a year, depending on the sophistication of the system, right, and what it requires. But it's all based on code. They simply require it as code dictates when it should be inspected. They do not charge us. They do not charge the business owner. What they do charge is the service provider. Easiest example would be fire extinguishers. Fire extinguishers are required to be inspected on an annual basis and then tagged accordingly. So when we come through, we check the tag, we make sure it's inspected. Unfortunately, we find that when we go back, in some cases, 3 years, it hasn't been inspected since the last time we told them it had to be inspected. So now this would occur on that annual cycle, and it's based on the inspection itself. So for example, if they have 10 or less extinguishers, the company doing the inspection on the extinguishers would pay this monitoring company $10. Okay. Now, my question during our process was, well, what's to stop that, just being simply passed along to the business owner? There's nothing that stops that. What they've found is, historically, it's about 2/3 of the time it does not get passed, about 1/3 of the time they choose to pass it on. So we really wouldn't know that till the system's in place. But they are small fees. I think the fee schedule was included in the documentation I sent you guys there. There is no cost to us. Like I said, there is a cost to that fire service life safety system contractor. And then also they do ask that we sign a 3-year contract to use their service. The contract is able to be voided by either party with 90 days notice. I did send it to Christian for review. We're going to meet after this and have a little more discussion on that. But my understanding is there wasn't a whole lot of issue. Pretty straightforward contract.
So the downside could be that the business owner might get a bill.
They wouldn't get a separate bill. What they could see is an
increase their
increase in
fee.
service, right, to pass along the cost.
Because they don't get that now.
They do get it now.
Oh, they-
pay for it now.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah, and it's typically, because even at the new fire station, for example, our kitchen hood is now required to be inspected. So that's something we pay for, our alarm system, our sprinkler system. Now, like for the fire alarm system, I signed an annual contract, and then they, any service or testing or inspection is included in that. But, we're in the same boat as everybody else.
Okay.
We're required to have those systems inspected.
On this cost, the fire extinguisher cost, is that per unit, like per individual fire extinguisher, or for the whole property?
You know what, I think it's gonna be for the property because, yeah, that's what it looks like to me based on the other costs. So in other words, if you're charging $20 for a 5-year sprinkler inspection, yeah, you're not gonna charge $20 per extinguisher. That would be out of line. So the costs aren't exorbitant. And I think the way they're able to do it is, right, they don't really send people out in the field. You're gonna have someone in an office and they're basically handling all this on a computer based on due dates and submittals from the contractor. So it's not incredibly labor intensive from their standpoint. And they did show me, so we'll give them a list of all our inspectable properties. And then what they'll do is they actually use Google Earth and they do like a virtual walk around of the building and look for external signs of systems such as standpipes, gongs, fire alarm panels and stuff like that.
You get a report.
Correct. So that's one of the things is all data becomes our data. So even down the road, if we decided to cancel this contract,
Still have the data.
any data would be owned by the city.
And you can look into it at any time.
You would know who their contractor was at that business, who the business owners were, all that kind of stuff is gonna be probably input or whatever, I assume.
Correct. And then because of our size, I would also be able to do a double check back and forth and make sure that nothing fell through the cracks. Does that make sense? We have a small enough scope that I could pretty much look at a list and see if any, large items.
Will there still be like a physical inspection every so often though, I guess, or?
We don't change our inspection schedule, so
Okay.
we would remain, and we would still do, so there would be a year where you would get both, but this is simply just a check, and the way they do it, say there's a company that they know is due for a fire extinguisher inspection, and they notice it hasn't been submitted. Email, phone call, certified letter, then they would call me. They said that, I think it was like 80% of the time by that phone call, they're able to resolve it. But there are obviously a few cases where you have to get the AHJ involved.
Have you talked to any of the other fire departments that use it?
Yes.
And they love it?
They do, because it's hands-off for them. It allows it to work in the background and help them, so when they go out and do their inspections, they're just one step ahead on compliance.
That makes sense.
And these companies that do inspections, they increase their fees usually over here anyway, so it probably wouldn't even notice it. Looking here, I think the community where I manage, we've got probably 100 extinguishers, so 10 plus, if it's $20, it's nothing
All right.
compared to what the replacing an extinguisher is, and the cost that we pay to have them re-tagged and inspected, so for this company, it would probably just a write-off, or some companies might pass it on, but they'd probably never see it, unless they made a complaint or something to the owner of the business, said, yeah, now the city's making us pay this fee.
And that's possible, right?
It's possible, but I don't see it happening too much. It doesn't cost us anything, and it's gonna make things better.
Yeah. I'm all for it.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, zero's cheap.
Yeah.
Good job.
Zero works.
That's the first time you ever heard that from me, right?
Yeah. Can you train Sean on that?
No cost to the city.
No cost to the city.
Don't give him any more.
He doesn't
Yeah.
have to
He's
pay
got
for
enough.
software or something on his computer to interface into this system?
No, sir.
No.
It doesn't cost the businesses anything, it just costs the guy that has to do the inspection.
And it's a database that you can look at,
I
like,
believe they email the reports.
oh, you get
I'll double
reports.
check, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so, is this something that we'll have to vote on?
Yeah, I think we'd like to put it on for next Tuesday night if y'all are okay with that.
Well, we'll have something else on there.
Yeah, there you go. I won't be
You'll-
here,
You
but-
expect to have a final version of it by the end of the week? I know we're
least working towards that, yep.
That was sort of a maybe.
That was that all depends or
Yeah,
what?
it depends on their response, right? I think,
Okay.
Chris and I are gonna meet after this. I think we have a plan of what we're gonna
Okay.
request from them. And then, what type of stance do they wanna take?
Okay.
I think it's a reasonable request on our side. And if, sorry. Yeah, it's pretty, usually they go pretty quick, and I would
Okay.
think they would accept, and I can keep you up to
Okay,
date.
so if there's a final version of the contract, we'll put it on for next Tuesday. If not, it will be on whenever it is completed.
Yep.
Okay,
But yeah, I fully expect by the end of the week to have something.
great.
All right,
Can I take a couple more minutes of your time while I got you guys?
sure.
Sure.
So we're starting to see the repairs being made to the station after Milton. Railing was fixed yesterday. We are scheduled for solar panels this month. We're scheduled for aluminum fencing this month. We're scheduled for the roof flashing this month. So we think we're gonna have everything pretty much back in, aesthetically pleasing to the citizens. So started thinking about the possibility of rescheduling the dedication or grand opening. Now, speaking with the other staff, schedule's pretty full. Unless we wanted to do it on a weekday, then we would have more options. But if we were gonna stick to a Saturday, we were looking at either March 29th or May 3rd as possible dates. I didn't know what y'all's ability on a weekday was, or if you wanted to stick to a weekend. I guess that's the first question. Or do you think the time is right to do it first and foremost? Where our citizens are. We feel we're gonna be ready by spring. I just don't, perception, right? What it looks
Yeah,
like.
that's kind of what I'm thinking.
And we don't have to, right? If we think it's bad timing, we're fully operational, everything's good. I just wanted to say to you guys and let you make the decision, as I think we will be put back together.
I think it will be a diversion to the people with what they're going through to have the open house. Everybody keeps saying, when are you gonna have open house? And it would be a diversion from what they're going through,
I like the March.
March works for me
I
too.
like March too.
The May, it starts to get really hot. and,
Yeah.
March is
In March, we still got a lot of snowbirds here that could come.
That's
Yeah.
true,
Good point.
yeah.
May, they're gone.
Before Easter, yeah.
Until
And you
Canada-
think
yeah,
the
until Canada
Saturday is
becomes a
the
51st
best?
state.
March 29th,
March 29th.
Yeah.
and they'll have that 20 sign fixed by then.
That should be on the 14th, January 14th, yes ma'am. I know that's your priority right there.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
We've got a lot of 20s.
Okay, so we'll, as we meet together, we'll discuss that and what it looks like. And Carly, I believe that you still have the contact with Biltmore, and I would assume they're still willing to participate?
I hope so.
Yep, okay. Great.
What
Great.
time's that gonna be on the 29th? What time?
I haven't decided yet,
Yeah.
kind of put a little thought into it.
Yeah, sure.
Well, and we're talking about maybe a 2-hour,
Yeah, maybe
Kind of-
11 to 1.
yeah, something like that, yeah. Because it's really more about the dedication and all of that. Okay. And I guess, Carly, maybe you have to check with Max Jr. and see.
He's aware
what-
of these dates, so I think that, I
Okay.
think they're gonna be able to be there. So,
March would be good.
And we have a brand new employee started yesterday, so he's training today. He'll do a 40-hour week, like as a training. You'll get him up to speed and then start Sunday night shift, so we're excited about that. He's excited too, so.
Where's he coming from?
High school.
Okay.
He's a rookie.
Great.
Seems like a pretty good
EMT
guy.
School Fire Academy, to be more specific.
We're gonna mold him into our way of thinking, right?
Mold him
It's a good hire.
after he quits looking for the skyhook. Okay, well, what do we got next here? Hurricane recovery update. Who's
It's kind of
got
all of
that?
us, so whoever wants to,
Oh, it's Terry.
whoever wants
Morning, Terry.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Wednesday. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
You coming up too?
Yeah, I was gonna say, that's kind of
It's kind of
everybody.
a team effort.
Yeah.
Crew.
See what you need.
Happy New Year, all.
Yeah, where's he coming from?
High school, those classes.
You wanna start with the long one or the short one?
The short one's out of the way.
I'll go first, yeah. Pretty much everything in the city is cleaned up. There's about 6 places out there. Must have been, some that didn't get picked up, because of where they put them, under trees, so, but 90% of everything in certain lots are picked up, you know, it's all minute, but, there's about six houses that have, that need to get debris picked up. But they will be on their own. We'll notify them. They'll have to be on their own too, because we're done. We're already in billing. So they're gonna have to, just get it removed on their own.
I had a fairly new resident stop in this morning, who lived here for the last 2 years. He just came in just to kind of tell me that he was really amazed at how well everything looked in the amount of time. He said, he's driven around, looking at the city, looking in different areas, and he said, it says, compared to what he's seen some other places, he's from New Orleans, and he went through all that. Back in the
So he
time.
knows,
He
yeah.
said that, he said when you had houses that were fully covered in water compared to what we have, and then the recovery efforts it's gone through, he was just appreciative, and just wanted to stop and say thank you. So,
That's nice.
very nice.
That's,
Yep.
yeah, because we heard some of that, but there was more of the nay than the yay. So
Well,
that's,
yeah.
that's nice. That is real nice.
Yes.
So yeah, so those people we'll get to, and then, of course, we're working with finance too, with, all the insurance stuff and that, I know finance is, up to here, Yeah, that's some, but yeah, we're just, like the chief, we're slowly getting stuff back together and, and then I know we have a
Yeah.
meeting this week, I think, with, one of the insurance, well, I don't know whether it's FEMA or insurance, I think it's our insurance people, but we're just slowly getting there.
That for some of the downstairs.
Well,
like
just
that.
in general, I think it's just pretty much everything in general, still just getting it organized, because it's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
I know.
Yeah, so, I mean, that's pretty much what I got, that's,
All right. Chief?
Yeah, trying to help Terry the best I can with keeping the planning reviews going and working on permitting, things like that. I've got a couple big ones I'm working on, I promise I am.
Trust me. You're good.
For us, the interesting thing, and it makes sense, right, and call volume's down, it's noticeable. Since I was hired here, 7 years ago, it's steady, 9.6, 9.8 calls a shift. We've always just hit that mark, and I'm seeing about, probably 40% decrease is what it looks like. But it makes sense when you think about the types of facilities that are vacant currently, right? We've got the entire Alance, or, the fountains is currently empty. Dolphin View Rehab is empty. 6800 Park Street is empty. So your larger call volume facilities based on the,
Lutheran Towers? Yeah, Lutheran
base
Towers.
load there. So we went ahead and revamped the training schedule for this upcoming year, kind of take advantage of while that call volume is down, because we see some of these facilities coming back in about a year or so, but it will take that much time. So we've got some live burns scheduled in February. We've got some other facilities training out of the city. We'll try to take advantage of this opportunity to bump up the training a little bit in anticipation that the call volume will at some point get back to that, what I consider the normal level, but it's definitely different right now. And I don't know what you guys are seeing as far as residential. I would assume that those numbers are probably down also.
they're low because our flow rate is way down.
Well, there's a good indicator too, right? You can tell by the sewer system use of who's in their home and who's not, so.
Right. And of course, a lot of people, the snowbirds, a lot of them decided not to come down. Some came, but a lot of them decided to wait till it was fixed up. So that helps slow things down. So.
This might be a question for Terry, but like some of these big facilities like Lutheran Towers and Alliance, are they empty because the elevators are down, or are they empty because there's structural damage, or is it a combination?
So most of it is not structural damage as much as it is, they got flooded, they needed to evacuate the building because that entire first floor had water, right?
Okay.
So the entire first floor is flooded. It a lot of times affected the electrical system. Think about here, you know, part of our electrical system
Right.
was underwater. So a lot of that is there's a lot of things that are on the lower level that help to make the building work.
Okay.
So if those things went under, most of the HVAC systems, there's service, the boilers and things are on the lower level. And then,
Yeah, that makes
so
sense.
in order to get those things back up and running, it's large amounts of money. And time. The contractors are extremely
Probably
busy.
parts
And
for
parts
elevators and stuff.
equipment. You know, our elevator is 1974 here, right? To get parts for that is nearly impossible at this point in time.
Yeah.
So things like that come into play where you just can't get them up and running quickly. You can't have people in a facility if they can't traverse the steps, or they
Right.
can't, just if the steps aren't there. You know, sometimes they had to take out the lower level stairs, so now you don't have the ramp and the stairs and those things to be able to traverse those areas. So it's mostly a safety issue, and then the mold concerns, of course, as it comes about. You know, they had to empty all that space in order to make sure the mold's not growing. So
Right.
it takes time to put all that back as well.
Well, a lot of elevator companies that I've been speaking with, they're overwhelmed themselves with the repairs, but they're also coming in and recommending like major modifications, I mean, to bring things to code and everything else. I'm having to slow them down and ask them to, what is it gonna cost me just to get it running? I need to get it running. We can talk about upgrades later. And that changes their posture a little, because immediately they want you to bring it back to a full modification and up to code, and most places don't have that kind of money to set aside to perform that work. And I'm sure some of these facilities that have to take care of the elderly, they might be going for the full mod, and that's gonna take even longer, because they do want it to come back up to completely done, not just working condition. Electrical, got a lot of problems. We're gonna have problems for years. It hit all that underground wiring, all that burying of the cable everybody wanted. Well, it all got flooded, of course.
That one.
I've had at the property where I'm at, I mean, 2 months after the storm, all of a sudden, had no power in 2 of my facilities. And then what it was is the water had gotten from the transformer to the building underground, got into the pipe. It did something to the wiring under there, and so now that's all gonna be re-pulled from the transformer to that building in these
Does
areas.
it affect plumbing too?
Not covered by insurance.
Not so much?
So-
Not as much. Sometimes the ground that got saturated is now pulled away from the plumbing pipes, which could cause them to weaken the connections if there are connections underground.
But it's mostly the
It's
electric
mostly
and,
the electric and.
yeah.
Some aluminum wiring under there, and that
Yeah.
just doesn't like
I
that
know
at
that.
all.
and
But
the
you know,
saltwater
the Duke
is-
Energy representative I spoke to, he just told me, he said, there's no way for us to know when it's gonna happen or where it's gonna happen, so we can't warn anyone, but he said they've already had several meetings just discussing where over the next 2 years, it's gonna be a major restructuring of the underground wiring throughout the entire county, so we'll see how that
And
plays out.
it can be done well without the connections underground that, you know, when they do the boring and it just stretches and there's no connection under there, so there's no way for the water to get in, but
Right, if they do it right.
if they do it right, and they're, you know, things that were done years ago, we've learned a lot over the years.
Yeah,
So, you know, with every.
a lot of it's
every new system.
antiquated is what it is, so, yeah.
Harry, these ones that had, you know, like Alliance and all those, if they're not up to code now because they were built, no, Alliance wasn't built a long time ago, Lutheran Towers was, do they have to come up to code now even? I mean, they have the flood that they have to deal with, but do they have to come up to code otherwise?
So that's a 50/50 question.
No.
So if they meet that threshold of the 50% of damage, then they are required to bring everything to current code, and that applies to residential as well as commercial. if they do not meet that threshold, and most of the high rises would not, right? Even if they had roof damage and flood damage, the building itself is so large that it doesn't come to that threshold of the 50%. Unfortunately, Lutheran Towers did meet that requirement, so they're going to have to bring everything up to code. The most of the other ones did not, and it would not be an issue. Some of the single stories are closed,
So that's gonna be quite costly for those ones, like Lutheran Towers,
Yeah.
because they have to come out of code also.
and now they have, that's a whole different conversation.
Well,
because
and
now
it-
it's not just fixing.
It goes farther than just that. I mean, I'm running into it now with fire code. Some of the fire pumps in the first floors of some of the towers got flooded, and you have to completely replace these. And so now they're telling us that we might have to replace everything up to the top floors. Some of the piping and things like that, so it all matches the system, which of course is gonna be a nightmare in so many places and expensive. So, I mean, this storm did a lot, and it's gonna, like I said, repercussions are gonna be hitting us for a long period of time as things are found and done. I guess the top subject though is how they're doing our permits.
Numbers,
That's what
please.
people are. So we discussed the substantial damage process, and we had 3,200 addresses, but that includes the condos, which are individually addressed. So, and the letters only go to the association, not to each individual owner. So, of the 3,200 addresses, I have 81 letters left to send. So, we are very close to getting all of our substantial damage letters out. We've issued
And are
100.
those like special cases towards the end?
Some of them are the city buildings that I figured I should get everybody else done before I did the city.
Okay, right,
But
okay.
set that as a priority. So our city buildings are part of that 81. Some of them, there are 19 left at Causeway Village that I haven't been able to get the data for, to be able to process those letters. And I had reached out to Lakeshore Management, and they gave me a whole list, because I was at like 100. So they gave me a whole list but I'm down to 19 that I don't have the data for to be able to process the letter. And just ones that haven't quite gotten there yet.
Yeah, that's
We're-
true. Right. Well,
We're getting there. I'm delighted that it's below 100, so.
Yeah.
Um,
Of
we-
that 3,200, how many were substantially damaged?
So,
I mean, there's
It's
two
a
different letters.
ballpark.
There's two different letters, right? Substantial damage or not damaged.
correct. Of the 3,200, we have approximately, and this is a ballpark, 75 that were substantially damaged. Now, there are some that are going to be considered substantially damaged once they start getting their quotes, because the value of the structure was so low that Causeway Village, for example, manufactured homes don't come in at a very high number depending on the year. So a lot of them are built in the 60s, and it's a square footage number times 107, and then there's a calculation for depreciation based on the year it was built. So some of those numbers came in very low, but the building may not be considered to be substantially damaged because 50% of a low number is a low number, right? So they, when they start getting their quotes to be able to replace it, they may not be able to do it for 50% of the value of the structure. So they may become substantially damaged once they get to that point. So just wanted to kind of caveat it with that.
We had tried to
That
warn
letter.
people of that. That's in our FAQs that was sent with all of those substantial damage determination letters. We tried to warn people that this is an initial determination, but that determination may change. But we would expect some people to not understand that until it changes. But there's nothing we could really do to avoid that.
Yeah, I saw a story on the news yesterday where a guy on St. Pete Beach got the substantially damaged letter, and then first he got the letter that basically you're clear to go. Then he got one that said, now you're substantially damaged, and they ended up, it was a screw up on St. Pete Beach's part, but those kind of things are gonna happen,
Yeah.
you know? You just gotta help people get through it, and help them understand what we're doing,
Yes,
or what we have to
had
do.
a number from, that Lakeshore had given us for one of the Causeway Village called me yesterday and said, you only took half of my mobile home. I have a double wide and you only calculated it for half of it. And I was like, the number was good. So, you know, that will happen.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, and we're working to, I told her just, you know, send me an email and we'll work on it. So we're working through as much as we can for those things.
How many total permits have you been requested so far to date?
Total applications, we've received 464. I have issued 145.
All right.
So we're a little less than my half, but
Yeah.
we're getting 464 applications and 145 have been issued. Completed-
Permits?
Permits, yes. I'm sorry, permits have been issued, yes.
Do you have the number for what's pending? Are there some that are pending? Like pending payment or pending?
I don't
You may not
write
have
number
that.
down.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Is there
Yes.
a way we can start getting more updated frequency of these numbers and put on the Facebook page?
We're working on
Okay.
putting together the format of a report that the staff can put out on a scheduled basis.
So
for-
every
for
time
these
something
numbers,
happens
yeah.
in the software program, it changes the number. So,
Right.
you know, whether an application comes in or one gets issued or one goes from issued to, or application from review to fees due, or it changes the
Yeah.
documentation. So we're working on figuring out which report to use through the system so that we can actually get that information on the website.
So that will start, we're just trying to finalize what's gonna be the
Well,
most effective.
What I'm suggesting is we don't necessarily, the people of the city don't really care about the deep dive, they care about the numbers. Why can't we just put on there, hey, as of today, we've had 464 residences applied for permit and we've issued 145. Stay on this page for current updates.
Correct.
Just basic numbers. I mean, that's what everybody, when we had the last commission meeting, biggest thing was lack of communication.
Right.
And these need to be on there today, as far as I'm concerned, to say, hey, as of today, we've got 464 permit applications, 145 have been issued. Stay on, revisit this site for continuous updates.
So, and the only downside of that is some of them have been reviewed, they're waiting for payment, so they haven't been issued yet, but they're not just applications anymore either. So some of them are.
Again, we're splitting hairs.
I know,
I'm just
it's
saying
just
that,
the-
I think the citizens want and are owed.
Yeah. Agreed.
Timely
The goal was to
updates.
have something up yesterday, to be completely honest. The goal was
Okay.
to have something up yesterday. We're just still working through the data to,
Okay.
because we want to come up with a format that makes sense going forward so that it doesn't change. I don't want to put something up that then next week,
Right,
it's like,
right,
now
right.
it doesn't make sense to report it
Well,
that
it's a
way.
moving
Just
target,
trying to
no matter
come
how
up
you
with
look at
one
it.
that's like, this is what we can do, put it out quickly, put it out easily, and it's very clear what it is.
So if
but the
it's a
goal was to do it
permit,
yesterday.
Friday, have an update.
They've got the green light.
If
To,
it's been issued, yes.
if that means the permit is issued, they can do whatever needs to be done to fix their home.
Whatever they applied for.
Okay, whatever they apply. Okay, no, that's true. Because I guess that's different too.
Correct,
It
some
is.
people were just applying for the roof, some are applying for their, you know, the interior, some now need an HVAC system that they didn't know they needed because it wasn't broken before.
Okay.
And now
Get
it
it.
is,
The
so.
question that I was asked was, I already had a permit to do a complete remodel of my home prior to the flood. Is that permit still good? For me to proceed?
Deep breath.
Or is it now voided and I have to resubmit because of the flood?
Love the loaded questions. So, in theory, yes, depending on, so we've had a few, and more than likely what'll have to happen is they have to now do a revision to add the things in that they weren't proposing to do, right? Because most people aren't gutting the entire house and redoing it, and now they're adding in additional cabinets, adding in additional, you know, they weren't doing the bathroom and now they are, or they, you know, those kind of things. Or they were doing the bathrooms and not the kitchen, and now they have to do the kitchen as well. So 9 times out of 10, there will be a revision that has to be done in order to add in the things that the flood caused. What will have to happen is the substantial damage packet, the worksheet, would need to be filled out saying, okay, this is everything that needs to be done to bring it back to code. I already had a permit for this. So we can add in those additional.
So when they say we're ready for inspection, then that would be the point where you'd say, okay, well, we need the substantial damage.
Correct, so prior to, when they submit their permit application, we're asking for the substantial damage packet. That way we can look at that, we can do the pre-inspection before I issue the permit.
Okay.
And it's about a 15-minute inspection.
Right,
Basically, I set an appointment with the person to come out at a certain time. I go over, we just kind of walk through the house, make sure everything that's on the packet matches what the
Yeah.
actual damage is.
I was just thinking about some of the people that had these permits already, and then their contractors has gone ahead and they're already back and they're living in their homes and everything's fixed. And now they're gonna come in to get finalized, and it's gonna like, well, you need to fill out this damage letter from the flood, and what'd you do here, what did you do here, how'd you fix that? And so now we're running into a bigger issue for you, right?
We're working with people and things like that. So as they're doing, the work, if they already had a permit, when we go out to do the inspections, if we see additional things, we're talking to them about it and getting the data.
Gotcha. Okay. But otherwise, we have no reason, except for just having you as our only plan reviewer, as far as getting permits done and taken care of. Because I know I was notified yesterday by the county that they have put a complete hold on all condominium and residential apartment building permits until further notice. And I didn't know why. If we don't know, it's a gentleman named Al McLeod in the county that made the announcement. And so, but there was no explanation of why they're doing this, and I figured it wouldn't affect us because we're not county, but.
It's still a lot.
Yeah, that's just.
Countywide.
Yeah. So,
The
unless it's,
For
it might be a-
unincorporated.
That's for the unincorporated.
unincorporated.
Corporate,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
One of the things that the county put on their website as well, and a gentleman came into the office and said something to me about, it was on our website, said that, all of the work needed to be permitted or completed prior to June first for hurricane season. He's like, it's on your website. I was like, it's not on my website, I guarantee you. Because I'm not sure how that could even be a possibility.
Yeah, I don't see it happening.
You know, I
Yeah.
mean, it would be ideal, absolutely, to have it all done prior to June first, but that concerns me quite a bit. I've
Right.
made a few phone calls, but I haven't been able to get a hold of anybody yet to find out how that is an option.
Yeah, because the county has they have a map. So you can go look at the map, and you can see all the houses with the green or red little house on it, and you can click on that, and it's either a substantial damage letter that says, rebuild, or one that says, hey, you're okay, at least until you submit your permit, and costs. And none of the condominiums have any of these little dots on them. And it was throwing me for a loop. Well, why is everything around this whole area got one, all the residential homes, but none of the apartment complexes or condominiums have it? So we were reaching out, and finally we talked to this lady named Barbara down there, and she got us with Al McLeod, and he said, well, it's all been stopped, put the hold on it right now.
So
Don't understand
the
it.
property appraiser does not do calculations for the building
Right.
for assessment purposes. So it's got to be done by square footage, and
Yeah.
so it may be that they haven't been able to come up with that.
Well, yeah, I know when you go into the site and you go to the FEMA button under the tools section, and it shows for like a condominium building, it'll show what the building's worth and what the 49% hit is. The way they put it in there, the way they phrased it. But if you go to, say, like the clubhouse for the property, well, it's not a residential building, so they have a little letter and it just states, well, this isn't residential, so you're gonna have to hire your own private estimator to come up with your 50%. So,
That's probably part of that.
yeah, that's a mess too. So now you gotta hire someone to come in and say that you're above or below.
Into our calendar.
But Terry,
Yes.
you said there were like 75 that got letters of substantial damage. And I know this, you probably don't have this number, but I mean, how many of those have to tear their houses down and go up? I know that's a tough number, but I know that's my situation.
A lot of them are getting private appraisals. And if it meets all the documentation requirements for the private appraisals, there's a possibility they wouldn't have to. If then they can do it below whatever the 50% of that would be.
Okay.
So that is an option. Some of.
So the private appraisal is gonna make the house of more value? So they have a
come in
higher
and-
50%?
Correct. So
Okay.
they come in and actually do a structure and make determinations based on pre-storm conditions. So the property appraiser's website data is for tax purposes. So they use that number and they tend to keep it on the low side for tax purposes. Because, they valued your structure too high and you'd be mad at them for paying too high.
Right,
taxes,
that's true.
right?
Yeah.
So, that data is more for tax purposes. So the private appraisers usually come in a little higher.
Maybe not that much higher. Yeah.
Some of them are substantially higher, some of them are, it depends on the structure and how it
And the damage.
how it was dated. If you haven't done a thing to it since 1950, the value's probably pretty close to what the property appraiser's gonna have. If you've made updates and you've kept it kind of, you submit the permit applications to the county and they have all
Right.
that data. So some people have done that without permits.
Yeah.
So that wouldn't be reflective in there because they don't have the data. So it depends.
Yeah.
But the private appraisals do tend to come in higher than what the tax assessor is. The private appraisal cannot include the land. So some of them are submitting it with the land value in there as well. And that, per FEMA regulations or our flood insurance, our
Right.
flood ordinance, it cannot include the land. So, does that answer your question?
Yeah, people are gonna have to, some people are gonna find out that they're gonna need to do that.
Yes.
And that's kind of scary, but,
Some people want to do it.
What?
I talked to a couple of people at the Christmas thing we did that, they want to look it up.
Yeah.
They don't want to go through this.
We got our first new house application, last week, and he said, I'm not going through it again. I want the water to come through and go back out and not have to bother me, so we decided he was just gonna elevate. He wasn't substantially damaged, but he said he's not gonna go
Wow.
through that again, so.
right,
And we've heard that a lot of people have said.
Sure.
Not gonna do it.
it's a lot.
So,
A lot of people can't afford to do it.
that's true.
I've got some friends who's got that problem.
That is very true.
There are some financial assistance programs that are coming out specifically for that, so
Are there?
we're trying to help get that information out. There's a program called Elevate Florida, which is specifically to help residents that want to make these changes and may not be able to afford it, so.
Good program.
And then last night we got an email from the state about a mitigation program that's coming out, so we're trying to gather the data and get it
Yep.
listed.
Yep.
So, just to give you guys a little bit of background, in November of '24, we received 117 applications for permits. In November of '23, we received 43. And in December of this year, it was 120 applications, and in December of '23, it was 47. So,
Right.
just wanted to kind of say,
You're busy.
I'm
Yeah.
busy.
Changes the workload.
We know it's
It
going to explode eventually. I mean, that's still probably not where it's going to be.
No, absolutely.
Yeah, because with all these letters that's gone out, there's still all this work's got to be done. and-
Correct. We are reaching back out to the contractors and the owners when they're missing documentation, sending them emails or calling them and saying, hey, we still haven't heard anything back, because I've got a big stack of things that I can't even review yet, because we don't have all the information. So we've been, and Marie has been wonderful in helping us with that, because she's been just kind of give her a stack and go, here, call these people. So she's been great at helping us with that. We met with the state. We met with the state. Last week? Friday, right?
I believe it's
This Friday. And supposedly, we're getting help. They asked when I could accept permit tax plan reviewers and inspectors, and I said Monday. And they kind of took a deep breath and went,
Okay.
so.
2 months ago.
And
Yeah,
once, they were like, when can you have them? I was like, as soon as they can get here,
Yeah.
I'm good with, if I get to come in on Sunday, so they can get here, I'll be here.
Yeah.
So he sent
When you look at the number of permits, like you said, last year at the same time, and you look at the number of applications and permits, I mean, people have to realize without additional help, you're doing the best you can.
I'm trying.
I mean, the whole department, I'm saying, you know, they're used to a certain number that they can work with efficiently. And this has just blown it right out of the water. And it's unusual that nobody wants to step up and come and help, but I guess
Well, it's-
other people have been in the same shoes.
They did, yeah, everybody's in the same boat, right? So from all the way up in the Panhandle, all the way down to Fort Myers, right?
Sure.
We're all in the same boat. Unfortunately, building inspectors and plan reviewers are an in-need resource anyway.
There's a lot of
Yeah.
people that
And-
wants to help, but they're not
They're
qualified
not
to help.
qualified,
Yeah,
exactly.
you
And they
can't-
offered
Sure.
ICC certified inspectors and plan reviewers, but then I would have to review it after them to make sure it meets all the requirements per the state.
Right,
And I have
it's
to put
not-
my name on it, and I'm not willing, I mean, there are
No, that's,
wonderful people out there who are inspectors and plan reviewers all over the country. But if I have to look at it anyway, there's no point in me getting help, because
I agree.
It just doesn't help.
I'd love to help you, but I don't know anything about it. And I would if I could. But, you know,
I don't know if something new that came out this year, as of January 1st. I saw some, a House Bill 207, maybe. And it had something in there about internship, that
Yes.
cities or municipalities could bring people in or whatever and help to get more people out
Yes.
now.
And that is a wonderful program. They have to shadow a building official or inspector in that field for 200 hours, I believe.
Right.
And then they still have to pass the test. But yes,
And but they're
they're
all,
trying, and
but
then
they're
a lot
also
of people
kind of
have
help,
taken
like they
advantage
can,
of it.
they can file stuff for you and things like that. Maybe. I don't know.
And we'd have to set up the program so
Yeah, yeah,
that,
yeah.
and have it approved by the state.
But
prior
you've only
to-
got so many hours in a day.
Amen.
True.
Carly keeps yelling at me.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
I was looking up all the requirements and the licensor and things like that, and I was like,
It's a
they
lot.
put them through a lot here.
It is
Florida's a
difficult to
lot.
get these credentials. It's
Yeah.
very difficult.
Yeah.
So,
And I had a few because they told me I couldn't, so I was very challenged by that. But that's because I'm stubborn, not because anything else.
Right.
proven to be valuable.
What else you got for us, anything?
I think that is all I have at this time. We are working, my staff has been amazing, and St. Marie's been helping me quite a bit. Everybody's been great. We're trying.
Yeah.
We're trying as hard as we possibly can.
And I know it's, in the face of everything else we're going through, it's minor, but I had a few people mention the way the old Jay's Fabrics is starting to look grounds-wise,
I will,
minor thing, but
yes, we actually had a meeting with them yesterday.
I see that they're getting the false rock front up at that they've, Take 5.
Yeah.
Looks nice.
Hey, right, yeah, they're not messing around over there.
Yeah.
When are they gonna paint it orange?
You ready for bright orange?
To ruin all that beautiful look.
Yeah. I don't think it's gonna be orange. We'll see.
What's happening with the donut place? You know, Dunkin'
Dunkin'
Donuts.
Donuts.
right next to it.
I didn't hear anything about a donut place.
I was,
No, I haven't.
I was told they're not coming back.
Well,
Were they flooded?
Yes, they were,
Yeah, that building is
they said they're not
disrepair
going
anyway.
to,
Yeah, no, it was,
come back.
I've not heard anything about any new stuff going in there. We met.
be nice if they put a Krispy Kreme in there. Oh, you're a kid. I'd never leave town. It's hard driving all the way up 4th Street.
Oh, gosh.
I did have, we've got the application for Aldi for their renovation.
Of the Winn-Dixie?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Is that gonna be coming Aldi?
Mhm.
It is, no kidding. I hadn't heard that.
And it's actually gonna be smaller, they're thinking of a second tenant going in as well.
It's wondering, because Aldi's typically
their
aren't
stores
that
are
big.
not as
Yeah,
big
all
as
these
the
are small.
Winn-Dixie. And they just spent all that money redoing.
I know.
Yeah.
The whole place.
The one at the Tyrone Mall is nice.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
it
yeah,
is.
it's
That's
a
a nice,
store.
that'll be a
Yeah.
good, that'll be a good
good
thing
thing.
here for the
Yeah.
city, yeah, cause they got a lot of nice stuff.
Mhm.
They do all right.
Office remodel at 1650, and then we've got, the damage repair on Short Drive, one of the apartments, I can't remember which one. That's what I have in my office right now, I think I got one more to pick up. I'm not sure.
Yeah, there's so many. I'm meeting with 1255 today, to go over what they need to do to bring it up to get it back,
It's
so.
the main facilities. not-
Yeah.
Was there something going on with the lot next to the, I can't think what bank it is now.
Regions.
The
Regions Bank?
Yeah.
I've gotten, had discussions.
Oh. No, there's something. Just can't talk about it. Okay.
No, it is not a skate park.
Yeah.
So I've had discussions with people from there, from Jay's Fabric, and the corner of Shore and Pasadena,
Oh, where
that urgent care
medical
facility.
place was.
But nothing's etched in stone yet, so
Nothing for the storage lot yet.
we were discussing with Starbucks, and they didn't like my answer, and I haven't heard from them since, so.
Good.
Speaking of that corner medical building, what's up with that ratty boat that's sitting in there? Just appeared one night in the middle of the parking lot and it's been
I
there.
saw that.
Answer that.
You can't answer that, or?
I don't know the answer to that
Okay.
question. And I do.
It's the mystery boat.
Where? At the medical on
Yeah.
corner of Shore Drive?
I saw it
Pasadena, where
yesterday.
boats come to die.
What, do they have a boat in the back?
It's
What?
the
A
side
boat
parking
in
lot.
the, on the property?
It raised, you come up to the light, it's right there in the side part of
Oh,
the, right
okay.
there,
Yeah.
so.
The two sailboats against the,
I know, right? They were moving, they got all the other 5 boats out and then haven't seen them again. I mean, yeah, I don't know why they just left those 2 there.
right up against the wall.
Mm-hmm.
They came and got 3 of them by me last Friday. So we're clean clear now.
That's all we're lacking is those 2.
Yeah.
Would be nice.
Wow.
I'll see what I can find out if they've been tagged and if there's a time.
Right, yeah, because I know the, what was it, the state, or somebody had the contract, because they had that huge barge, remember, we saw that coming through, and, I mean, they dragging them out, picking them up, and,
They were chopping them in half
mm-hmm,
out in the water and bringing them up on the barge at the whole front and fold it open,
mm-hmm.
drag them up.
Right,
in there.
yeah, exactly, yeah, that's the one,
It's
that's why,
just amazing.
that's why I thought that, everything was gonna go, and when they took out that last load with like the 3 or 4 boats on it,
I've seen
then
them take them
haven't been
before,
back.
but I've never seen them cut them up in the water like that. And then,
That was that state team that we talked about, the waterway debris removal, and that was part of their mission, if they could get it
Yep,
out.
that's who I applied through.
And the county paid for that, right?
State.
State.
Yeah, so we have an update meeting with them at
The
1:30.
website you go to and just report it, put pictures on, and boom, within a month or 2, they were out. Took care of it. So,
Wow.
Did we do that with the two applicants
I think the one was there
before?
before these storms.
Yeah,
It was-
there's
that was,
been
I
there
think,
one
what,
time.
Debbie or whatever that last one was. Yeah, so it definitely should have been gone.
Carly's got the link.
I did what?
He said, Carly's got the link
Blank.
to the website.
I do.
Yeah, from,
Oh, that's right.
Tara.
I do.
Yeah,
Send that to me.
Okay. Okay.
it was a very simple one-sheet type thing, and I took the.
We had a
pictures,
couple of
put 'em on there.
residents that said it wasn't working at one point, but we followed
Yeah,
up with
then it
them and
started working.
it's,
Yeah, I
and it
couldn't get
started
in at
working
first,
again,
and
yeah.
then,
Yeah.
after I mentioned it to Tara, I waited about 3 or 4 days and went back in, and
Yeah,
it
no,
was
we're, yeah, same.
So-
Yeah, because we had some residents ask us too, because
Yeah,
we put it out
probably
publicly.
overwhelmed. But yeah, send that to me and I'll
Okay.
I'll do something.
Yeah,
see what
I can
get on
repost
those.
it also, because it was, they told us to post it to the public, so we did that.
Yes.
So I can reshare it as well, but,
well, anybody can report there.
okay.
All right.
All right, put the note out,
Keep
have
up the
everybody
good
in the
work.
condo.
Get some sleep.
Get on the website.
Anyone have anything else today?
I have one thing as part of the hurricane.
Still gotta get to the next,
Recovery,
item.
yeah. So, obviously, the commission knows that our first floor was flooded and has been gutted and is kind of sitting at this point while we try to value the building and possible plans. One thing that we would typically use that for would be a candidate forum. As we talked in 2023 when there was a candidate forum, there were concerns raised at that time about holding it in commission chambers and that giving the impression that it is a function of South Pasadena's government, which it is not. So we were advised at that time to either cease holding candidate forums, or if we're going to allow them to be held here, that the city's real only involvement in the process is to provide the space and not to actually help with the planning and logistics beyond that. That makes it a bit difficult this year as we no longer have an event room available besides chambers. So I've spoken with Gray Robinson about it. They've kind of reiterated their concerns and would not recommend it being held in chambers. So unless I'm mistaken, y'all's recommendation is not to have a candidate forum this year because we don't have a place to offer to anyone, and they do not recommend it being in chambers.
And that makes sense.
You mean to use chambers for an event?
For a candidate forum.
Oh, candidate forum, okay.
We had previously held
But a lot of
candidate
the condos
forums.
have their own, so the candidates can still get out and speak to the people at the condos. As far as the neighborhood people, I don't know what we would do unless they got a hold like the Women's League of Voters and they had somewhere to hold it.
Which I can contact the League of Women Voters and ask them if they would be interested in trying to work with someone locally.
Yeah.
But it's been recommended to us just to really make sure that we are not
Right.
overstepping into any kind of
Distance
electioneering.
ourselves from the election. Right.
Yeah, to make sure that nothing that we would be doing would be considered electioneering.
Yes.
So,
I got a text from Mary at the League of Women Voters
Okay.
yesterday, and it looks like they're going to put a voter's guide online
okay,
that will be available before the ballots go out.
okay,
And that's what it looks like the way they're leaning right now.
okay. They've usually done both. They've usually done that.
Yeah.
But then we have asked if they would moderate our events for us. They did not initiate those events previously, so I will let them know that we are not planning to initiate one, but if they would like to, they could work
You
with
might
someone
ask them
else
to reach out
locally.
to
but-
some of the contacts you guys have for the condominium managers in the area to see if those facilities want to use.
Oh, I can connect the League of Women Voters with them and
Yeah,
say,
that
here's
kind of
our,
thing.
here's
Right,
the
let them do their
managers
own
that we
thing, but of
know
course
of, and,
they-
right, Yeah.
I received last week from them, you know, and they just asked you if you would fill out a little bit.
Okay.
They sent it, so,
yeah, cause they do like a published,
yeah.
Thing?
They
Yeah.
published,
Yeah.
They sent it last week.
yep, so, okay. So just kind of letting you all know that recommendation unless, if you all are okay with that, so.
And a lot of the condo associations, event rooms are.
Their rooms are gone too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, like ours is totally gone.
I think they're still using the second floor, but
Yeah.
I could even suggest the League of Women Voters that they could try to do a virtual one, but they would need to, again, facilitate it
nowadays, that could
themselves,
happen
but I
too,
could
yeah.
see if they would wanna do that, but,
comfort of your living room.
You know, our downstairs is locked off. Is it because the elevator doesn't work? The elevator's out of service? Okay.
Yep, that was, that one right there, that's kinda on hold until we figure exactly what we're gonna do, cause repair of the old 1972 was like $143,000.
And then the 2 AC units.
And then 3 AC
3
units.
AC units, sorry.
I mean, yeah, so we're
That
just,
was another
we're
70 or 80,000.
thank you.
What's a new elevator cost?
2 something.
We have to be careful because the city is subject to the same 50% rules as everybody else. So with these costs adding up and knowing our value provided from Pinellas County, we have some math we need to do to see what we're able to do. So,
Better start printing.
Maybe fire poles. Fire poles should go down,
Right
Get
on.
that
I'm with
printing
you.
press cranked up.
slide down a
Give me a
fire pole.
pallet full, please.
So it's not an ADA issue as such for that.
Wow.
What, is the elevator gone in your building too?
No, they got that up and running. Well, the guy came yesterday. It was an adjustment that was on there, but yeah.
Don't lock Terry in the
Yeah.
elevator.
But yeah, I mean, it's,
There's how
Oh,
I get my
there's
break.
an idea.
take a nap.
but they got it running. I mean, there's still a lot of stuff that they need to come back and do, you know.
Don't That seems to be the
underneath, but
slowest elevator ever.
It is, it is. It needs to have been for 2000 in it. It
I
really
know.
does.
Well, but at least if they get it working.
Well, that elevator was done as an emergency
It is
repair
slow.
because they don't have an ADA ramp like we do. Our building could function like this because you can come up the ramp. If you can't get upstairs, you couldn't get to the building department or to Public Works.
Yeah, and
So
considering
we
how
had to
many
fix
people
their,
were
we had to
coming
fix
in
their
and out of the
elevator
office.
right
Yeah,
away.
never thought about that.
So
Yeah.
that's why that one was done
And some
quickly.
of the people coming up the steps, we had to bring them water
Yeah.
and sit them down.
Help them
Oh,
downstairs.
911
Yeah,
before.
it was a little complicated without the elevator for a little bit. So
I've met with people in the lobby
Downstairs to have discussions.
because I couldn't make it up the steps, so it was good that we got that up and running.
So should we move on to the next item?
Indeed.
Guess we're all updated?
Yep,
Thank you
Questions
so
out?
much. Yep.
yep.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
And ladies.
Our last item on the agenda is the charter review process,
Yep.
which it's unbelievable that we're having to do that in the
Yep.
midst of all this.
So the city charter calls for a charter review committee process to be completed every 6 years, which is this spring. Spoken with Ray Robinson a bit on this. Staff has concerns about doing it this year in the face of sort of the storm recovery that we're still going through, but also the way that our process has fallen in the scheduling. It also falls that every 6 years, we also do this at the same time as firefighter union negotiations, which, given some of the demands on staff with the storm issues and then negotiations also, we spoke with them about potentially suggesting to defer 1 year for charter review, stay on a 6-year process going forward, but defer 1 year. We think that.
Does that help offset that every 6 years with the
Yes,
fire
yes,
and
that
everything
it would
else?
then, in the future, not fall at the same time as union negotiations, but also the charter
Good
review
idea.
committee is dependent on volunteers. It's a 9-member committee, and at this point, we are,
That's
I
right.
know, right? But at this point, we know that a lot of our residents are either not here or their attention is focused elsewhere.
Right,
And we have trouble getting 9 volunteers on a normal basis, so I'm just a little bit concerned about the level of engagement we would really get right now.
Agree.
So our thought was to defer for 1 year.
And that's something we can do legally?
You can just do it by
Consensus.
discussing it and kind of, if you guys all agree today, and understanding, yeah, that it's gonna happen next year.
So,
All right, yeah, let's put it off.
But that
for
makes
next year.
sense.
Yeah.
That does make
Can we
sense.
put the firefighters off for 2
Can
years?
down the road.
if you wanna talk to them about that,
The 6-year cycle
I'll
will
let you-
start next year.
Yeah.
This year.
so yeah, just, there's
Following
just
that.
a little bit of an extra gap. So we'll do it next spring and then 6 years from then and 6 years from then going forward. It's just deferring for,
And
for
you guys
1
get
year.
away from the cycle of.
Correct.
Be semi-back to
Correct.
normal next year, and there'll be more
Yes,
people around
that's
to
our
be
hope is
involved and
that,
volunteers.
yeah,
and,
that it would be better both internally for the
Yeah.
city and for the public to defer it 1 year.
Good idea, good idea.
So,
Yeah. Yes.
okay,
All right, we're all good then.
okay.
Okay, anything else? Good
Just
for
one
today?
thing, I have one
Yep.
thing.
Yep.
I don't know if everybody saw the article in the Gabber last week. It was all about the history of South
Wasn't that
Pasadena.
interesting?
Coreytown.
Yeah,
Nothing
yeah.
but bars and.
All the bars, it was
I know,
great.
great.
And it was Coreytown,
Coreytown.
and it was like a 3
It was
full-page
really
article,
long.
really
It was
nice
really
article.
long.
Yeah.
I read it this morning.
So I don't know, we have it in, did we put it in the reading
It's in
file?
the
But
reading file.
I believe so, yeah. and
yeah,
there's
but I
extra
mean,
copies
it's
of Gabber.
really, if you haven't
Yeah,
read
it's
it,
good.
you
That's
can go
good.
online and get it.
Yeah.
It
Sounds
was,
like this city was founded by a bunch of, interesting folks.
It was. Trying to figure out where that restaurant was, which corner that
Yeah.
was. It looks like it was where the rally is,
I
maybe?
think so.
Okay.
And it looked like there was a McDonald's in there.
There was a
Yeah.
McDonald's
Yeah.
where Wendy's, kind-
It was north, wasn't it?
where was it?
Where Dunkin' Donuts is.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
Yeah, you saw that in the
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
picture.
Yeah.
But anyway, I recommend you take a look at it.
Yeah.
It's really a nice
Yeah.
article.
Yeah,
it's great.
Tells you a little bit about the city.
Yep.
That's it for me.
Yeah.
My wife was here in the 70s, and she said that that Pasadena Avenue was almost like going to Vegas with all the neon lights and stuff, and restaurants and steakhouses.
And there was a movie theater.
Gin
too,
joints
a
and
drive-in
steakhouse.
movie.
Right.
Yeah,
Um,
I think that was where the came.
Sean, drive-in movie?
That was
When Dixie was.
Yeah, it was over here by Winn Dixie, and there used to be a slide.
There's like a water slide,
Water
right?
slide.
Oh
Yeah,
my
there's a water
God.
slide.
We missed all of that.
I know.
Water slide with a bar.
Yeah,
Now you're talking.
All right, everybody, let's get out of here.
All right.
Adjourn.